29th June 2026. I'm here with Tony O, fresh from his vacation. How was your time in the Great White North?
Oh, it was a great white north. It was unbelievable. It was the temperature in Anchorage was is the same as it is in Buffalo. Um, the it's we look at the license plates. It's known as the last frontier. Alaska's the last frontier. And I got to say, there are a few things that are surprising when you're out there. First,
Uh-huh.
you go down the main drag in Anchorage, and they've got these trees planted along the road. And with the trees, they've got these cages around them that are 6 feet tall. I said, what are these things for? They said, well, these are moose cages. I said, well, why do you need moose cages in the city? He says, well, because the moose, they come in here, they come on the highway, and they just roam around and they wreck everything. So they have to put these moose cages around all the trees that are out there, which is pretty zany, I'd have to
They're
say.
like moose there are like deer here.
Yeah,
They're everywhere. All right, so you had a great time.
I did. It is rustic up there. These people they're indigenous people. They're very proud of their culture out there. They give me a couple of things that I want to investigate. Which is the history of wealth out in Alaska. It's gone through a variety of different phases, from logging to salmon fishing to the gold to the oil.
But now today,
And
for the everyday people, what does it seem like the economy is based on?
The economy seems to be based on support from the U.S. government. It's fishing.
But there's a huge element that's tourism related, right? You spent a good money on your trip, right?
Well, I tell you what, they looked at how much money came in from a variety of different endeavors. So they did look at the money that came in from logging, the money that came in from fishing, from the gold rush, and they said by far, the greatest economic impact is from these cruises and from tourism. So that is really what's keeping that state afloat. And furthermore, anytime you're there, people thank you. They just thank you for coming to Alaska.
So why
So
do
they
you
get
think?
it.
Why do you think in our region, where once upon a time Marilyn Monroe came here, and it was considered a glamorous place? And I say Marilyn Monroe because she, at the height of her career, she made a movie here about the glamour of Niagara, the mystery and glamour of Niagara.
Remember when it was the honeymoon
Yes.
destination of
So
America,
how did it
right?
be? So it became the joke, the kitsch, the ridiculous, and that element was always here. The wild parts of Niagara, but why did we? I talk to politicians, and they're like almost embarrassed to talk about tourism as a possible driver of the economy. They're like, oh no, no, we need to make this the next Silicon Valley. It's always some nonsense silver bullet instead of
Yeah.
building on our natural strengths.
Yeah, it's true. I think one of the big reasons, let's face it, has been the relationship between unions and the state government. And I think that the unions have cut deals with the state government, which have made it very expensive to do business here. And it's
I,
got to
I
go through certain
I
channels.
think that's listen. I don't know if that's totally true. I mean, there's obviously some element of truth to that. I can see right now running for office. What I see is some of the unions, not all of them. Some of the
Mhm.
unions are very angry at me because of my position on stopping the data centers. So it's not just some collaboration of the left to keep out or to rake up prices for workers. There's also some sort of unholy alliance between corporate interests to say, hey, we're going to do this thing, even though it's hurtful for the long-term benefit of the region. I remember when I said we should tear down the steel factories along the river when I ran for Congress, and I got dragged into a union office and berated how people work at those factories. And when I asked how many, they said 12. So, like, I think there is some short-term thinking, especially on the data center issue, because they think it's going to create 2 years worth of jobs. 2 years worth of jobs at what? 50 years worth of hurt, or 100 years
Yeah.
worth of hurt?
I mean, Nate, you have to understand there are always going to be people who are going to be complaining that there are going to be jobs lost. And so let's say there are going to be a relative handful of jobs lost, but you're going to have thousands of more jobs available
But they're
in,
going to
for
say,
instance, the
let's
tourism-based
just play it
industry.
out. Let's do devil's
All
advocate. They're
right,
going to
all right.
say, because I talk to them every day,
Mhm.
well, those aren't good jobs. Tourism isn't a good job. The good
Really?
jobs are the ones in the building these data centers. And I'm like, well, you're going to ruin 100 years worth of tourism jobs. And they're like, no, it doesn't matter. Those aren't good jobs. Go ahead,
Yeah.
counterpoint.
Well, look at the good jobs we had um, with the chemical industry. And look at the sort of the time bomb, we've
Ticking
had
time bomb. We still
with all
have. We
right,
still
right,
have. Did you see the
yeah,
report in the Buffalo News about Cayuga Island?
yeah, I did.
They
And let
and by the way, that's
and
not the first time they found toxic substances on Cayuga Island.
I mean let's go down to
And by the way, I'm
Lackawanna.
gonna
And
blast you on this, Tony, because I wanna move. Like I told you, this is the new what was that show called? McLaughlin Report.
oh,
I
that's
want
it.
staccato answers. I want
We're
quick
gonna
answers.
go.
Go
I
ahead.
got it. Stick out. All right, but I just want to go down to Bethlehem Steel. You look at that, hulking operation there.
Yeah.
They decide to go out of business. They go bankrupt. Guess what? That monster is still sitting there, and who's left to clean up?
Us.
That would be us.
So all these people, OxyChemical, all these other chemical companies, they're gone, long gone, and
That's
we're
right.
still talking about chemicals at Cayuga Island or the 102nd landfill, or we're still worried about is Love Canal leaking or the docks over at Cayuga, Griffin Park. It's a joke. So let's not. And I want to tell people when you build these data centers, they don't go away. Okay, they're there forever. That's a lot of heavy earth minerals and everything else in those computers, and they sit there forever. And when they use that word data center, Tony, people think it's going to be like people doing research in there or something. All a
Nope.
data center is a big box for computers. That's all it is.
Hey, if they want to look, Yahoo ended up putting a data center in Lockport. Remember that? And
Yes.
you can see that. You can go up one of the roads, and one of the reasons they put it up there is because of the direction of the wind, as the ability to cool some of their servers. You look at that. Honest to God, they have very, very, very few people who actually work up
Well, most
there.
of the people who work at those places are security or
Yeah,
landscaping or
sure.
maintenance. There's nobody working in there. It's a tomb. They don't even keep the lights on in those things. Did you know that? It's just
Yeah,
darkness.
well, I mean, that's, people just they hear jobs and they're sort of they don't discriminate for, what is a decent job or not.
So if
And
you go to Somerset, New York, that one they have up there,
mhm,
Barker or whatever, it's
right.
surrounded by security. Do you want to put full-time military type security in downtown Niagara Falls, not to improve the crime rate, but to protect a barbed wired facility? Are we nuts?
Well, I think I do think that we are nuts.
We are nuts.
But we're desperate. You're going to ask, look, how desperate is upstate New York for any kind of job development? Let me tell you how desperate we are. If you go to Dunkirk, I don't know if you've ever gone through Dunkirk,
I
but
have.
it's a tough slog that Dunkirk's going through. Anytime a community says, we're begging you to put a nuclear plant in our community, you know it's bad,
Dunkirk Dave. I go there every year to see Dunkirk Dave, the varmint or whatever he is. No, I don't.
right?
I
I
don't.
mean, it's just as tough. Hey, I
Yeah.
was reading. I know one of your favorite one of your favorite things, the New York Post,
Yeah.
over the
Sure.
weekend,
Sure.
and they had an article
Uh-huh.
about Schumer and Jeffries, and specifically they had the Democrat from Michigan, Senator Alyssa Slotkin,
Yeah.
who used to be with the CIA. I believe she was with the military. She was
Yeah.
also a congresswoman, and she says, "Hey, look, these guys have got to go. They're part of the problem. They're part of the problem that we've got.
Yeah. Okay.
How about that?"
How about what? When I said it, 6 years ago, when I was running for Congress, and Schumer was telling people what a great guy my MAGA opponent was, and all I said was, "This is crazy," and I had to meet all these officials telling me to shut up. Like
Well,
there was a newspaper article about it saying McMurray's habit of attacking the Democrats' leadership has got to stop. I'm like, what? Like, yeah, they got to go. Schumer should have won a long time ago. It makes me so mad to read these articles now. Alyssa, where were you before? Okay, this is not new. This guy has been terrible for a long time.
But wait, there's more.
Wait, go ahead.
New York City just had their gay pride parade, right? Schumer showed up and he was roundly booed by them. And then he gets the bullhorn and he says, hey, wait, I was the first senator to support you guys from, years ago. I've been doing this for 19 years at this parade. And why are you turning on me? Bottom line is, I think people are just,
I'll tell you why. They're corporate Dems. That means they haven't done anything to stop the wealth gap. They haven't done anything to fight against the trillionaire class or the Epstein class. They have their private parties. They give lip service to these issues, and they focus on social issues that like gay pride, which doesn't really do a lot for working families, including gay working families. All right, sure. Yeah, it's like, sure, Chuck, fight for gay rights. We want you to do that. We don't want you to turn your back on people that are being marginalized. But what are you going to do to make sure that families can survive in New York State? And he hasn't done a lot. In fact, New York State's in trouble economically in a lot of ways.
Well, I got it. The other issue is that really the Democrats haven't come to, and by the way, Hakeem Jeffries was hand selected by Nancy Pelosi.
It's just, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And let me ask you this. He's from Brooklyn. His district is. I'm just curious, Nate, if he had to run in a primary this June, I don't know if the guy would have won.
Well, listen. I hate to say this. You got to admit, Tone, I know you're a smart guy, a wealthy guy. I've been ahead of the curve on a lot of these issues.
What about beautiful?
You're beautiful. Yeah, you're beautiful.
All right.
But I've been ahead of the curve on a lot of this stuff. And you got to admit, because I was so ahead of the curve, not on the cutting edge, the bleeding edge, I got my head handed to me, chopped off.
Well, Nathan,
literally. And so if I'm bitter about it, I'm watching people on TV now, people that scolded me, literally sat at Democratic meetings and scolded me for attacking the party establishment, now on TV acting like they've been, born again, and they've always been against these people like Schumer and Pelosi. And I'm like, you haven't.
Nate, did you ever hear the phrase, you're a prophet in every land but your own? Okay?
I don't want to be a prophet. I just want to say, hey, it doesn't make sense that we didn't have a primary and our congressman was appointed. It doesn't make sense we'll talk about Zellner, because right now everyone hates Zellner. Okay, go ahead. So Zellner, obviously,
I don't know if they hate Zellner or if they just hate seeing Zellner in their mailbox. They hate seeing him on TV. They hate seeing him
here's my. This is the grievance podcast, I guess. So,
yeah.
All right, because we've been friends for a long time.
Mm.
When I ran for Congress with no outside money, okay, none, not a phone call from the Democratic Party. Trump was attacking me. Zellner wouldn't pick up the phone, okay? And I'm out there running, trying to get people organized, and we lose by 0.29%. Then we get sued by Zellner and the party, so we can't impound the ballots to do a recount. And then we do it again, and I say, and Schumer's out there praising my opponent, my billionaire rich guy opponent, again, and I'm out there like, what is going on? What is going on? So, I say this to you to say, what do I say?
What are you saying? I think.
Go ahead.
I think what you're saying is that you nominally were running as a Democrat, but you were not willing to be part of the firm.
No, and a lot of people that were part of the firm for years are now acting like I never want anything to do with that. So Zellner was a problem, right? I've said it for years, but Zellner is not. He's symptomatic of a bigger problem, which is in politics, people sell out for inclusion. And whether it's going to be inclusion now to the new group or the old group, instead of sitting by values or principles, they sell out to fit in. And that it's very frustrating for someone like me who tries, I'm not perfect, to be driven by principles. So right now, everyone's like, it's super easy to beat up on Zellner because he's not likable. But it's kind of like it's over. I knew it was over 2 months ago, 3 months ago. I was like, this guy's not going to win. And you talked about it with me too. You called me. You're like, oh my God, no one likes this guy. It was kind of obvious, right? It was kind of obvious. But let me say this to you. The thing that bothers me the most is for years, I was scolded that my methods didn't work, that I was wrong, that I needed the professionals to come in to save me. And because I didn't hire enough professionals, one of the people saying this was Jeremy. And now Jeremy hired more professionals than anyone ever has in the history of Western New York. And they landed him a landslide loss. So what does that say about the professional class in politics? Forget about the Democratic establishment. What does it say about the people that are in the business of politics and how fake they are and what snake oil salesmen they are?
Well, I think, we're getting a reaction against that when we're looking for candidates who have, quote unquote, authenticity, when we're looking at candidates who are talking about, real issues that people are having to deal with. Because I tell you, the professional class, they'll look at the CPI, they'll look at the stock market, they'll look at many of the things that Trump espouses as signs of success in the economy. But that's maybe for the top 10%. For the remaining 90%, you just can't lie to them because they understand what their grocery costs are, their fuel costs. They understand how difficult life can be for them in America today.
This is what I'm afraid of now, okay? So ready to get my head chopped off again?
Yeah.
Okay, because we've established the establishment sucks, all right? We established that the expertise class doesn't really have a lot of expertise. We established that Bernie Sanders was right on like 95% of the things he ever said. That's the truth. That's where the party's moving. That's where the country's moving. He was right, okay? Like we all said, like anyone with a brain said before, but had their head chopped off. Now let's go to the next part. Because now we're in a new moment, and you're going to chop my head off again when I say what I'm about to say, and then 5 years from now, you're going to say, oh, he was right. It's freaking crazy not to condemn people that are politicians who say things like murderers won't answer a question about whether or not a murderer should go to jail, or imply that racial or interracial marriage is wrong. So some of the stuff now the talking point will be, well, hey, you're preaching the Dem talking points. No, I'm not. I'm all for healthcare as a human right. No change. I've never changed on that. Unlike a lot of other politicians locally, I've never changed on that. I'm all for protection of reproductive rights because I think that abortion illegal leads to death. That's it. You don't really stop abortion. You just create death. I'm all for all the progressive economic issues I've always talked about. I'm not for anti-pluralism. And to pretend some people are not preaching that on the left and the right is a denial of reality. Okay? So before we go any further with this, I don't want to go back to where we were, where we had a party that was obsessed with identity and not obsessed with uniting people across race and gender and class and not whatever, religion, pluralistic ideas that unify us against this absolute threat to democracy, which is oligarchy.
Well, I think the problem that the Democrats have in the medical area would be called a defibrillation. They've got a fibrillating heart. It's not pumping because they want to be all things to all people, which means you represent nothing because you represent everyone. And I think they're going to have to choose, and they're going to have to make some decisions. The seniority system in Congress continues to keep people in who are increasingly irrelevant. The fact that we have no term limits and we have out of 435 seats, maybe 10% of them, probably 8% of them that are considered competitive means that we really don't have elections per se. So, you can talk about the Democrats.
So these are where I agree with the Democratic Socialists on. Do we need probably some sort of multi-party system? 100%. This two-party system sucks. It's terrible.
Look at Western New York. I mean, look at New York State. Look at New York State. One party rule.
It doesn't work. for like healthcare is a human right. I mean, I can't even believe we're talking about it. I say it every single week. Across the canal here, across the river, you can see they're building a $2 billion hospital, Tony.
So let me tell you, I was
And
out.
our hospital is about to close. Go ahead.
I was out playing golf with a friend of mine yesterday, and at the club, you understand, they're all of a certain ilk. So
Yeah.
he said, what do you think about healthcare? And I said, well, I think healthcare is a basic human right, and everyone ought to be able to have access to it. I also told him, by the way, I think we ought to make GLP-1 drugs generic, and we ought to be able to have anyone ought to be able to have access to them, because I think long term
It would be good
that
for the country.
is going to dramatically reduce, diabetes, health disease,
Yeah.
joint replacements, you name it.
I agree.
But the point was,
And what is
well,
what is his argument that we should just continue to create a system where Medicare
his
is
my
going to
my my
fail? And yeah.
well, my point to him was, I said, look, we already have health care for everyone, right? Which is Medicare. We've got that for these people. And we also, if you're disabled, you also have that. And then for the indigent, we have Medicaid. But we also have turned Medicaid into a middle class entitlement to take care of long-term care costs. So we really, have a lot of this
And
going
do you know what
on.
else we already have?
What?
Universal basic income. In a lot of communities, especially in the South, huge percentage of the population is on disability. And here's the problem with it, Tony. And I've been saying this stuff for almost a decade. The problem is when you're on disability, you have no reason to work. Because if you work, you lose your disability.
That's right.
So if you want to get 4 or 5 extra hours at Subway, and Subway needs you, you can't. So we have a system where we're not recognizing this already exists. It's just we're doing it in the worst possible way that doesn't help the economy. And we're doing it only for one reason. So the people that already are flush with cash can have 3 or 4% more. That's it.
Yeah. Well, his point was that the Democrats didn't get it done. So you shouldn't criticize the Republicans for not getting it done. And I said, listen, if you said the Democrats didn't get it done and we gave you the keys, right? You've got the courts, you've got the Congress, you've got the White House. You've had 2 years to do something on this. You can't say, well, because the other guys didn't get it done, we can't be criticized.
They have complete control over the government. They have done nothing. Their priority is a war in Iran, which we can talk about, but it isn't ending. It isn't ending, Tony. It seems to me that he's going to drag it out till November so then he can expand it.
Well, that's sort of the thinking. And in Iran, as you know, they don't really have elections that are elections. So they understand their leverage is two things. Keeping the strait closed or, putting a toll on it. And the second thing is they can destroy oil infrastructure and, desalination plants in their neighborhood, from other countries. And that's a big problem. The other thing, with the United States, unfortunately, is that, we are not being truthful, with the public, which we certainly weren't with Vietnam, but we've had very significant damage to our bases in the Middle East.
Yes.
And we're hearing nothing about it. There's not a problem.
We've depleted our stockpiles. We are damaged our infrastructure permanently. We have the only thing good that might come out of this, honestly, is that we're absolutely exposed. We're exposed for having we are a beefy, overbloated bodybuilder trying to actually engage in a fight, or not even a fight. A fight. And we should look like a chiseled heavyweight boxer ready to go to battle. We don't. We're a show pony. We're all show, no go. We live in a new era, and no one wants to say this, just like no one wanted to say Chuck Schumer sucks 10 years ago, but he did. He did then and he does now. He's a terrible person. He's just outdated, just like our military is. And that doesn't mean we should build more aircraft carriers. We shouldn't. But have you heard the reports of the drones that we're facing in Iran? The F-15 that was taken out? Did you hear what the pilot said?
No.
He said he was facing a wave of drones that looked like an octopus with legs. And he quote unquote real alien S. We're not
Mm.
ready for this because we haven't invested in it. When you're broke, you're forced to innovate, right? When you got no food at home, you're like, I got a little bit of hamburger meat here and some macaroni. I got to make something. But when you got everything, sometimes you're just lazy. And the U.S. military has been used for a long time to make individuals rich and not really innovate in the ways of practical warfare. Like I said,
Well,
all show,
yeah.
no go.
Well, I think you should be getting the network feed for that comment because it's entirely accurate. You know, and when President Eisenhower gave his farewell address and he spoke eloquently of the military industrial complex, he understood that the military wants certain things and the industrial complex is out there to give it to them. And when you've got unlimited budgets, which this year the administration is proposing $1.5 trillion for the military, when you've got that kind of money to throw around, creativity goes out the door. I'm sorry to
I
say.
100% agree. And this is me not saying, I want the U.S. military. I was at my son's graduation yesterday.
Mhm.
All these boys got up there. They're going to the military, and the crowd went, deservedly so. Go away, go
Yep.
boys, let's go.
Mhm.
I don't want those kids to go to war where we don't have the tools we need, or we're fighting the war from 25 years ago. We should be fighting the war of today, which means more light, more quick, drone based, maybe
Well,
space based. It doesn't mean we should put our whole economy into this, but I think what we actually are doing is put our whole economy into something that doesn't work.
Nathan, I got that, and I would further add to that that we've got lions being led by donkeys right now.
Yeah.
You've got lions being led by donkeys,
Yeah.
and specifically, Hegseth is the most incompetent Secretary of Defense this country has ever
Big
had.
shock.
And I, and I,
We elected a weekend co-host to run the military. And by the way, isn't it funny that we changed the name from Department of Defense to Department of War, and we lost the war?
yeah, I think that's something worth noting. The big concern I have is that he's gutting the flag rank, the generals in this in our military, and these people are all stars. To be able to get to a 3-star, 4-star level,
Oh,
they're
they're
the
the
very
best.
best
And
of the
listen,
best.
I didn't serve in the military, but I spent a summer with the military working, and it was the most racially diverse, culturally diverse institution I've ever seen.
Yeah, and here's the
And that
interesting
was the
thing:
great thing about the military, and he's ruining that.
the military he doesn't understand. I mean, he really doesn't. The military has been the most progressive organization in the country. They were the first to integrate after World War II. And what we see with the military is we take people from different genders, we take people from different sexual orientations, we take people from different economic and geographic areas of the country, and we meld them into a fighting force, an ethical fighting force.
We
That's what we
do.
do. And so what he's doing
Thanks for
now
the follow,
is
Tim.
he's
By the way, someone just followed us. I was gonna say,
yeah, I mean he's getting rid of black officers, of
it's
women
insane.
officers.
It's insane.
Because he
It's
thinks that there
insane.
needs to be
It's
this white nationalist idea of the
Listen. I
military.
don't know
That
what to
isn't our
say.
military.
I keep saying this. We are a pluralistic society. What is it? E pluribus unum from
E
many.
pluribus
E
unum,
pluribus
from
unum.
one, from many one.
And both sides are starting to get it wrong. No. We are a group of different tribes that we must respect the differences. And I'm like, well, who gets to decide who's part of what tribe? It's difficult. How about if you want to celebrate your diversity at home or in your culture, go ahead. But as a society, we're a secular society, and we get together, and our society is based on our ideas or our values. Isn't that the principle? I just heard J.D. Vance say that we're not a society based on ideas. That's too restrictive. We're actually a society based on race and land.
This guy is a major league disappointment. He was gifted a good mind. He was also given by our country a wonderful education, at an Ivy League school, and he's married a woman who's Muslim, and he was a United States
He was the
senator.
representative of that principle
He knows
of
better.
the pluralistic nature of our society.
He's got this ambition which is on fire, and he thinks that he can make Watergate say, let me see, Watergate would be nothing compared to what's happening today. Well, Watergate was a big deal because Richard Nixon was doing exactly what Donald Trump is doing, which is using organs of the US government to go after a list of enemies. That's exactly what it was. He was impeached.
It's so crazy. Listen, JD Vance is done long term. No one likes this guy. No one likes JD Vance.
Well, he is not a likable guy. I agree.
I mean,
with
he
you.
makes Jeremy Zellner look super likable. Okay,
like a teddy bear. So let me ask you this. We're talking about electoral success, and we've got these socialists which are coming out.
I think people are voting for them because they want economic change. That's why I think, and I hope they don't lose track of this. I'm so glad we're having this type of success because I think it's a hope for the country. Does that mean I agree with everything these guys have said? Every single one of them, every single candidate? No way. But in general, I think they're on the right track. Go ahead.
Well, what I would say, I'd say two things. First, if you took the label socialism off and just talked about the specific issues, I don't know how many people would be complaining about those. The second is
that's what I always said.
Okay?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, Nate, the numbers, the math has to work. So, we'll see how things can go. But
I posted this morning. I got to say this to you.
Mhm.
Like, I do not want to live in a commune. I don't want the government to take over private enterprises. I don't think young people understand. If anybody thinks that's what this is about, well, I want nothing to do with that. I do think we should maybe think about some nationalization of AI because it's so dangerous. And I do think we should have more representation of workers in these companies so they have a right not to be downsized and destroyed.
Well, they do this in Germany, by the way.
And they do it in Japan and other places. But
right.
But if we're really talking about Marxism, no thanks. All right. That is, and I don't think they are. And that's why I'm saying this. I think they're talking about Denmark, which is what I've talked about on this show forever. But I want to emphasize how dangerous those type of ideologies can be, not just for the economies, but for the human soul. I've lived in countries that have had those type of policies. And it's not just bad for your economy, it's bad for humanity. There's something about humanity that strives to have autonomy and freedom and independent thought. And there's something magical about free markets when they're fair. The problem is our free market is not fair. Go ahead.
I agree. And what I want to say is if you go to China, you go to Russia, you will find that you don't have a basic freedom to think, to say what you want. You can't do that. I
don't think people here know.
They don't. They really don't. And what they don't understand is we've got someone at the top who is trying to very gradually control what it is we think, what it is we believe. He feels that anyone who isn't in exact lockstep with him is considered fake news because it isn't my news because I am the source of truth. So when we're getting this new wave of hitting when people are talking about, I want to get rid of the older people. Yeah. I want to get younger people. I want to get new ideas. I have what I've identified as 5 requirements for success.
Go ahead.
In 2026. Number 1, you got to be charismatic.
Got to be charismatic. In the age of social media. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Number 2, you have to be a master of social media. And I think Zellner was not. He took the traditional route, and I think that was one of the big problems he had. Number 3, you have to have good answers to the question, what's in it for me? And I think these people talk past stuff, but they're unwilling to say what's in it for me.
I think Zellner, just all he wanted to do was talk about Trump all the time.
Which is ridiculous. People
the funny thing is he barely talked about Trump for 10 years, and suddenly he was all Mr. Trump. And I think people are like, it's like they want to fight the battles after the battles are already over. Like, I'm not saying Trump's done as a threat, but like everyone with a brain is kind of the consensus now. Like, oh yeah, Trump sucks. What about next? What's next? And we're already kind of, as a society, he's 80 years old. We're kind of moving on to what's next. And as Zellner, as usual, was talking about what was. Like, we needed you 5-10 years ago when Trump was calling me, Jeremy, is when we needed you. Calling out and saying McMurray sucks. Now, here we are in 2026, and you're going to talk only about Trump? Well, what about healthcare?
Well, not just that, Nate, but the bottom line is you're a New York State senator. You have nothing to do with Trump.
I think everybody has to talk about Trump to some extent, but that's all his stuff was about.
That was his whole campaign.
That was the whole thing.
That's it.
All right,
all right. Number four, you have to have an organization. And number 5, and this is sort of, ethereal, the timing has to be ripe for change. And what I would say is at this point in the midterm elections, I really do think that the timing is right. I think when you look at what's happened with some of these national campaigns, even for the New York State Senate, you're spending $2 million on a upstate New York Senate race. You don't need to do that, and it doesn't produce the results you think it would. But at the end of the day, people want to know what's in it for me. You can criticize the billionaire class. You can criticize oligarchs.
I'm going to tell people what's in it for me, if you vote for me, because I think your issues are good. Number one, what's in it for me?
All right. Now you're running for what again?
New York State Assembly. I'm going to tell you what's in it for you.
What New York State Assembly? Wait, what does it encompass?
Grand
who can
Island,
vote? Yeah.
Youngstown, who just voted Democrat, by the way.
Oh.
Lewiston, which just had a Democratic sweep, by the way.
Okay.
Part of Wheatfield, part of North Tonawanda. And Grand Island. I think I said Grand Island. So here's what's in it for you. For Grand Island, you already know what I can do. You know I'm not going to be super sweet all the time. I'm sorry, I'm not. If I don't agree with you, I'm going to fight you. But you know what I'll get done. Okay? I'm not like the other politicians. You got politicians right now that are super sweet. They'll look at your face and smile, but they won't get crap done. I'll get stuff done. I did it before, and I'll do it again. Number 2, if you're in Niagara Falls, I personally am invested in Niagara Falls. I will change Niagara Falls. I will not let you have a data center down there, which will ruin the future of the city. I will remove the chemical factories. We'll figure this out. I am not going to sit by and say, well, I hope things work out. There's an old policy, a joke I heard. How many Americans does it take to screw in a light bulb? None. They just sit at it, look at it all day, and hope the free market does it for them. No, we got to actually pick up the light bulb and screw it in. Someone has to fix Niagara Falls, and I'll be that guy. I'll get funding for Art Park. I promise you. Art Park is long abandoned. I'll get funding for Art Park. I will figure out a way to get a civic center built in downtown Niagara Falls. And then we will go street by street and clean it up. Okay? I'll work with the mayor to do it. And I'll work with the Lockport-based county ledge, who's 99% Republican, but I think there's going to be some changes coming to get that done. How will I get it done? I'll embarrass them. So you're not doing it. You're not doing anything. And we'll fight to get it done. That's what I promise. I promise also that I'll vote for the New York State Healthcare Act. I think just like Canada did it, you can pass healthcare locally first and get it done. Well, New York State can't afford it. We'll figure it out. We can afford to pay for a $2 billion Bill Stadium. I think we can figure it out. We'll figure it out. We can figure out a way to give Elon Musk $1 billion for the South Buffalo facility that's empty all the time. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Budgets are about priorities. I think it's a priority for people to have basic health care in this country. We'll start.
So if we were going to summarize this, Nate,
Go ahead.
I think that your first priority is you're going to protect the river. Okay, This is our natural resource.
Yep.
You're going to rebuild Niagara Falls.
Yep.
And you're going to clean up corruption.
That's fair.
Right?
Put it on a bumper sticker. Will you
Protect the river.
Will you come to my July 9th fundraiser? You don't got to, I'll comp you as my partner on this podcast. Come and just have fun.
All right.
It's at Niagara Crossing in Lewiston.
All right.
By the way, I got to give you a compliment here. A lot of people talk. Yeah. Listen, a lot of people talk.
All right. I'm all ears now.
No, it's easy for me to talk because I'm already considered a rabble rouser and an outsider. You, my friend, do it in a country club. And I know it can't be great for your business.
I have a target on my back.
It can't be easy, man. Listen. I appreciate you doing that, though.
Hey, I tell people, look, when you're looking for financial advice, first thing you're looking for is integrity. And I'm not going to say something because I don't believe it. I'm not going to do something because I think it's in my best interest. I mean, you have to show some level of integrity. So I think there's that. And then second, I just have a real hard time um, having people not appreciate how blessed all of us are in this country. I mean, it's really interesting. There was an article yesterday in, I think it was the Cursed New York Times, which talked about the World Cup, and the team from the Netherlands decided to drive from Toronto to Kansas City to see one of the games.
Wow.
And they were just astounded by the size of the houses in the suburbs. So it was talking about, the real America in the suburbs. And they said, I just can't believe the size of these houses.
They're
They said, I
huge.
can't believe the size of these meals. He says, then they went into Costco, they got lost.
Well, yeah, all these foreigners are coming here right now, and they're blown away. Like, there's so many videos, like people from the UK trying Popeye's chicken, and like, what is this? This is the best thing I ever
And
had.
it's like, so what are these people complaining about? What did make America
Well,
great? You don't understand relative to the
we
rest of the
we we
world.
are blessed. There's a lot of things we're blessed about, but if you don't, this is the thing. This is one of my. I had a person in my life that used to fight with me about politics, personal life, and he'd be like, "It's a lot better than what it's like in Uganda right now. Why are people here complaining?" And I'm like, listen, suffering is relative. We're in the richest country in the world. We're human beings. As the Buddha said, all pain comes from comparison. So you might
Mhm.
be right that we're better than the worst place on planet Earth. Number one, that's not much of a standard. I'm not saying Uganda is the worst place, but it has had really dark moments. But like, it's being better than some place that's absolutely destroyed is not much of a standard. Number one.
And
Number two,
yeah,
wait, number two, you know, it's easy for you to say. It's for a lot of people in America, every day is the apocalypse. All right?
yeah,
If you're living on the streets or you're trying to support a family on fast food welfare, or excuse me, not welfare, fast food what do you call it? Wages without any type of welfare benefits, you're done. Every day is the apocalypse. So, in a country that has houses that are that big, that has meals that are that big, that has Costco, that has these big corporations, why is anybody living in such bleak circumstances? Why does Niagara Falls look the way it does? It doesn't have to, Tony. That's a choice.
I agree. There was also another article I read about the Hamptons yesterday. And they talked about there are two classes of people. There are people who own these houses, and then you've got the whole army of people whose job it is to maintain them. And the maintainers are there throughout most of the year, doing the landscaping, the carpentry, the painting, the house cleaning, all that stuff. Many of them are illegal. They all know it. They're looking the other way on it. And these people who own these fabulous homes are there for maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks a year. But they need someone to make it look like they live there the entire year. And these are like two separate tribes, but they're symbiotic because they have to
Have
rely
you
on
ever
each
seen
other.
the movie Parasite?
No.
Okay, rent it tonight. It isn't
All right.
boring. It isn't boring. It is about the exact thing you just talked about. And I'm not going to ruin it. I'm going to ruin it a little
All right.
bit. It's a poor, very talented, very charismatic family in South Korea. This won the Academy Award, by the way, and Trump hated it for a reason because the messaging is so powerful. And the family all figure out a way to take jobs at a very wealthy home.
Mhm.
And it's about how they manipulated the family to get to live in that home and work at that home, but also how the family ultimately exploits them to the point of, devastation. And it's called
Yeah.
Parasite for a reason. And we live in a society where we have become parasites to one another. And that's no way to live. And
I
it's
mean, yeah, I have a niece. This is shocking, Nate. I mean,
go ahead.
I have a couple of nieces. They have got college degrees from decent schools. You know what they're doing?
What?
Dog walkers.
I
Dog
met a woman
walkers.
yesterday that has a master's degree from a local school, an
Mhm.
MBA, and she is cleaning toilets.
Nate, I don't think we've seen this in the past because, higher education was always the gateway to a better life, to a better job. And now what we're seeing is it seems to be almost a bankruptcy effect where people have these higher education jobs, but for whatever reason, they're not able to find traction in this economy. And
There is no economy. That's why there's no economy. There's a service economy which doesn't get rewarded or paid, and then there's a controller masterclass economy that gets overpaid.
yeah,
And even I always say this, it extends even to doctors. Doctors, like the head of a hospital was not making this much 30 years ago. And entry level doctors and nurses weren't making this little. Well, I guess nurses is not the same.
well,
But nurses have made more. But like
I mean,
my point is, in every level of society, there's this hierarchy where the top gets more and more and more, and the bottom gets less and less and less.
I'm telling you, a couple of my uncles were doctors, and
Wait, I know one of them, Dr. Giggles.
no, 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 no. I won't tell you the other name. Uh, but the two of them were, and I think, they got out of World War II. They served in World War II, and they had their practices. And I'm just telling you, these guys. So they may have had a nicer car, they may have had a nicer house, but that houses didn't cost that much back then. But I remember people paying them with, here's loaves of bread, here's XYZ. What
Exactly.
can you pay? That's what they
Exactly.
did. They
No,
had a thing on Porter Avenue next to Duville College. They lived upstairs. They had their office downstairs in the basement. And that's where we got our primary care. That's where people on the west side ended up getting their primary care.
when I was a young man, after I served my Mormon mission, I came home and I was broke, right? I need some money. So I went to go work for my brother in Texas. He had a little business down there. And it was cleaning pools. And I remember I used to take this little truck around and like go to all these, like, he serviced a lot of like gated communities. And when I say gated community, I'm talking full on Fort Knox gate, and behind the gate is like $2 million houses. All right. And I would go clean these pools, and these people would treat me like I was garbage, like garbage coming into their yard. And first of all, look at the way I look.
Do I have to?
Half of them, because I used to wear a hat, assumed that I was from Mexico, and would often say, "Go back to Mexico." I'm like, "Are you think I got? You think?" I mean, I wouldn't say anything. I was like, "These people are so racist." I would clean these pools,
Mhm.
and I just did it for a short period of time. It was really,
So you were the pool boy. All these
I was the
jokes
pool
about
boy.
the pool boy. You were the pool boy.
Yeah, none of those erotic moments happened for me, sadly.
Oh, all right. Maybe you should have got a new hat name. You
No,
ever think of
well, the
that?
thing is, you'd have to hit 15 pools in one day, even if someone wanted to make a move on me, it wasn't going to happen. So,
Yeah.
I was moving so fast, or getting bit by dogs or whatever else. And one time, this guy was so rude to me because he said that I had hit his flower pot, which I didn't. So, in all these gated communities, had these rolling lawns that blended into each other. And this is before I even started college. And I was like, you know what? F you, man. And I got in my car and I just shredded it through the grass right out of the place. And they
You do have anger control issues
and they
still.
banned me from the community. I couldn't go back in. And my brother's like, I'm going to fire you. I'm like, oh, well,
Yeah.
that's okay. But like, if I had the option to do that, to say, take this job and shove it, F you.
Mhm.
But what if I had kids?
Yeah.
What if I had a wife?
Yeah.
I mean, like a lot of people in America are forced to live like indentured servants or worse. And that's what we're talking about. Yeah, a lot of people have those big homes, but not everybody does. And we live in a country where so many people have so much and other people have nothing.
Yeah. That's the big, and I like to, just bring this last point up, is that the big fissure inside American politics today, it isn't horizontal, because I think that's the old argument, going from left to right and right to left. And this is the way we've been told to think, right? And we've been in tribes, left to right. But I think, it's vertical right now, and it's from the bottom to the top, and it's this top heavy economy that does not trickle down to everyone else. So Trump, when you look at his MAGA voters in the bottom, they view themselves through the lens of white Christian nationalism, right? And they believe the top has conspired to make them less dominant. So they feel disrespected in that regard. Now, when you look at AOC, Mandami, Sanders, uh, voters in the bottom there view themselves, to your point, through an economic class lens.
That's the way I
And they
look at it.
believe the top, has conspired to rig the economy against them. So on the one end, you've got um, social concerns saying I'm being disrespected. And then from the other party's concern perspective, they're saying it's really just an economic issue. And if you wanted to be able to convert some of the people from either camp, it's as though you need to have an understanding of what their resentments are. And I don't know that we've got that happening just yet. I think we're sort of yelling past each other. What do you think?
I think if you can get away from the labels and you just go to the policy, I think that the left wins every single time. Every time.
Well, fundamentally, Nate, elections, wars, you name it, they're really based on economics, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Everything is.
Right? It's a pocketbook issue.
I used to say this all the time, and this is what Martin Luther King said towards the end of his life. It's about uniting people across economics because that's the real driver here.
It is.
And it's also the way you can measure whether there is discrimination. It's the way you can measure whether, everything else is fuzzy. But if you can say, hey, African Americans in this country make $20,000 less per, or it's even more per household, or, they have no generational wealth, we can say there's discrimination against African Americans, obviously. Or women make less per hour than men. Well, obviously, women are being discriminated against.
But I got to say, I think one of the best virtues you can have is humility. Because what I notice from a lot of successful people is they become entitled because they have a lack of humility. What they say is, I earned this, I worked hard, I did this, I. And so this is mine. And by the way, I don't want to share any of those, my tax dollars with anyone else. And they tend to, they don't realize that they weren't born with a scrambled brain or with a disability, or they had parents who valued education, or they lived in a community that was safe. I mean, there's so many things. We're just benefits. Being born in this country.
Or I used to always say, like, when I was a kid, we didn't have much, but we had a house.
Yeah.
And that was a house that my grandfather built.
Mm-hmm.
All right? And then my father took over, and that my mother received. If we didn't have that house, I would probably be in a juvenile detention center when I was a kid, or an orphanage, or a foster home.
Well, I have to tell you.
Can you imagine if my father had owned a company that was worth $4 billion? How much better off I would have been?
Man, we wouldn't be. We'd actually have a producer for the stupid podcast. I'll tell you that.
Well, one more thing I want to say about Elon Musk, by the way, talk about this issue. I'm reading Maggie Haberman's book about.
Me too.
How much time does this guy have? It sounds like he just plays video games all the time. Like, what the? Like, I thought he was like the master genius entrepreneur. I don't have time to play. I don't have time to play video games, even if I wanted to. He plays video games 8 hours a day?
Who?
Elon.
Oh, Elon. He's a master.
When does he have time to run Doge or run his company if he's playing video games all the time?
All my friends, they say he's a genius. There's no doubt about it. He's a genius. And I said, well, he is a genius salesman. I'll grant you that.
In the words of Donald Trump himself, not too long ago, he's the world's greatest BS artist.
That's saying something from him. And he was also said from the guy who ran New York City, who said this Donald Trump is just a con man. That was Mike Bloomberg. So, it's sort of...
They all are. That's the problem with the modern economy. It's not based on creation. That's the one thing you can say about Elon, though. His cons do lead to some sort of creation. And
and people who invested in Tesla, they did make a fortune over time.
Yeah, I can't totally diss the guy, but I was like, how much does this guy play video games? All right, let's end it there, okay? And good commentary today. I'll say welcome back to the mainland United States.
Yes, sir. All right.
Bye. See ya.
Take care.